everyone. In this video, we are finally going to talk about the energy that we get from eating all these different types of foods. So we've talked at length about vitamins and minerals and carbohydrates, so our sugars and starches, and our lipids, our fats and oils. We've even talked about proteins, so our polypeptides and amino acids. But now we're going to answer the question, how much energy do we actually get when we ingest each one of these types of foods? But in order to do that, I want to review our old school way of thinking. So when we talked about energy way back in our combustion module, I want to go back to that and kind of remind us of those terms endo and exothermic, because this whole process of getting energy from food all stems from the fact that we are either giving off energy exothermic, or we're taking in energy endothermic. So the first thing I want to review is photosynthesis. So if you recall, photosynthesis is a process where we have energy that is needed in order to treat 6 molecules of carbon dioxide and 6 water molecules with chlorophyll. You absolutely need chlorophyll. This won't work without it. In order to create C6H12O6, which we now know is a monosaccharide or a carbohydrate, also known as glucose, and we also create 6 oxygen molecules. Now this is fantastic because as human beings, we know that we absolutely have to take in oxygen in order to survive. So for us, it's the exact opposite of this. We take that monosaccharide, so the C6H12O6, we treat it with 6 oxygen molecules, and what we are able to do is create 6 carbon dioxide molecules plus 6 water molecules plus energy. So this entire process of respiration is what we do to release energy. Remember, in combustion, we burn fuels, we set fuels on fire because they release energy. So now my question to you is, true or false? Photosynthesis is an endothermic process, okay? And then true or false? Respiration is an endothermic process. True or false? Go. All right, did you get an answer? Hopefully you did, and hopefully you knew this right away and you didn't even have to think about it. But photosynthesis is definitely an endothermic process. That is definitely true. Anytime we have our energy on our reactant side, that is definitely an endothermic process, which means that our respiration cannot be endothermic. It is definitely exothermic. So this was false. Now, why am I even talking about this? This has nothing to do with food. Well, I need to remind you of what an energy diagram looks like, and this is the one we talked about in the most. So we want to go back to what we know. So we're going to start off with our level of our glucose, so our C6H12O6, and we're going to treat it with our oxygen molecules, okay? I'm dropping my coefficients here just for the ease of everything and the simplicity. So now we said that respiration is an exothermic process, so that means we are giving off energy. So what happens is we see a decrease in energy, or a negative delta H, remember our enthalpy, which is our transfer of heat energy at constant pressure. And so we have a release of this heat energy, a negative delta H, and that's how we can create our carbon dioxide and our water at a lower energy level. And now the alternative is our photosynthesis. We take carbon dioxide and water, we add energy to it, which means we have a positive delta H or a positive enthalpy value in order to create our glucose and oxygen. So just remember, we have this energy cycle. So now the reason I'm talking about this is that inside of our body, we have a very similar energy process. We have our fats, we have our carbs or our carbohydrates, and we also have our proteins. Each one of these, regardless of which one it is, when we treat it with oxygen, we create carbon dioxide and water and energy, okay? We are able to burn fat, burn carbs, burn proteins, and actually create energy. And so that is our way of using energy to fuel our system, so that we have energy to go run around or dunk a basketball or maybe kick a soccer ball, whatever it is that you want to do. It is the process of burning the food that we eat that provides our energy. So now, how much energy is actually released? Well, let's have our food source over here. We'll look at the 3 categories. So we said fats, carbs, and proteins. And so for this discussion, I'm looping fats and oils together. I'm just calling them fats as an overall thing. All right, so now when you burn fat, you actually release 9 calories per gram. Okay, calories, capital C, so we're talking about nutritional calories. You burn 9 calories per gram of fat, all right? Now for your carbs, you actually release 4 calories of energy per gram of carb, whatever it was, your sugar, starch, that was burned. And then your protein actually has the same name. It's about 4 calories per gram of protein burned. So what we can see right away is that if we want to get the most energy for our system, you want to be burning fats, which hopefully is kind of clicking in why people who are trying to lose weight are always on a low-fat diet. So our best advice for weight loss is 2 pieces. First one, you want to eat a low-fat diet. You do not want a lot of fat in your system, okay? It's going to sit there. It's not good for you because you want to eat a low fat. What that's going to do then is encourage your body to hunt for the fat that's already in your body. You want it to go find that fat pouch and burn all that fat so that you can use that as energy instead of you constantly ingesting new fat and they burn that as energy. So you want to eat a low fat diet. Now, the second part is you need to have fat in your diet. Just because it's low fat, it doesn't mean you get rid of it. That's not healthy. I'm going to say it again. It is not healthy. You need to eat your fats. Okay, some of these are good fats. So your diet should consist of 20 to 35% of your calories, your total calories, need to come from fat. Okay, but I want to be very clear, less than 10% of that needs to be from trans fats. If you can eliminate trans fats total in your diet, I would definitely highly encourage you to do that. But it's definitely good. You might have to kind of somehow eat some trans fats based on what your diet is. All right, so now the last thing I want to point out is a little category here, a little table that tells you about how many calories you should be eating if you live in the United States. So that's assuming our general lifestyle. So I'm just going to do this for me because it's the easiest way to do this. So the first thing you need to figure out is if you're a female or a male. And so I'm a female, so I'm going to be in this top section. And I'm actually 29 years old, so I'm going to be looking at this category right here, this second row, I should say. Now, there's 3 different levels. There's sedentary, so that means you basically just sit around. You don't do anything. If you're moderately active, that means you walk around 1 to 3 miles a day. Okay, this is a day. And if you're active, it means you walk more than 3 miles a day, as well as doing other activities. So now, just to kind of highlight that, if you're not really sure how much you walk, if you're a high school student and you're walking around the high school every single day, it is very, very rare for high school students to actually be sedentary, okay? So you're probably sitting here in the moderately active site. I actually personally really enjoy working out, so I would be considered active because of how much I work out. So for me, every single day, I'm supposed to eat around 2,400 calories, which is a lot, right? Because I'm kind of petite, I'm about 5'6", and so it's a lot of calories. Now, to give you something to compare that to, my husband is 31, so he's in this category right here, and then he actually would be considered moderately active. So he actually is on a diet of about 2,400 to 2,600 calories a day, which is really unique because he weighs about 90 pounds more than I do. And so, but it's nice because we each have to eat the exact same amount of calories, and so our plates look identical. So it's just something that's very, very unique about the amount of calories needed for your system. How active are you? Are you twitchy? Are you constantly moving around? That's me. I'm always moving around. You need more food. If you're someone who's really laid back and you just don't do much action, you just kind of sit there, you definitely need to be eating less. So I'm going to end this here with you, where I just want to ask a very quick question, okay? So for you personally, how many calories should you eat daily? And we're just looking at this chart. Okay, so very simple. Obviously, this does not take everything else into account, but just based on this very, very simple chart, how many calories should you eat daily? Go. All right, did you get an answer? Hopefully you did, and your answer is probably very, very different from your neighbor. It entirely just depends on your lifestyle. So for my high school students, my Cambridge kids, you are probably in this first row somewhere here. I would be shocked if any of you are technically sedentary because of how much movement is required for a high school student. So you're probably in the order of anywhere between 2,000 and 3,000 calories, depending on your age, your gender, and then how active you are. For those of you on the football team or the soccer team that are running more like 7 or 8 or 9 miles a day, 2,400 calories might actually not be enough for you. You really need to just kind of sit this down. There's so many different apps out there available if you're really interested in this, or if you want more of a conversation with me, please shoot me an email. I'd be happy to have this conversation with you. But the most important thing you can do is just eat a balanced diet. It's not 2,400 calories from McDonald's. It's of veggies, and it's of some fruit, and a little teeny tiny amount of sugar, and then you definitely need some protein. Have a great week. Take care of yourself. Eat your veggies.